fulfill their desires, set to waste of existence. Waste of existence. We spend our life searching for the sense of belonging. Some people die before they fulfill their desires, set to waste of existence.
Anxious earth is rising. Anxious earth is rising. I'm so happy.
We spend our life searching for the sense of belonging. Some people die before they fulfill their desires, set to waste of existence.
Okay, take the amount in column 3L and total it with the total from worksheet L7. If it is greater than the number of exemptions from the previous 3 years on worksheet 27. Oh, hey, Double Tribble here. How's everyone? How are you? My name is Ron. I live in New Hampshire. I'm surrounded by forests, wild animals, and lots of other stuff. And it's pretty cool. I stream science, and I do retro reviews of retro sci-fis. I do science experiments. I talk about civics and current events. Every once in a while, I get out and touch the grass, and I'll stream that too. So a lot of different stuff. Today I wanted to talk about the tax system because it's tax day. It's April 15th. So that's what I wanted to talk about. This is my first affiliate stream. First stream as an affiliate. I'll do an actual, like a celebration stream or something like that, later on. But there may be stuff happening here that I don't understand how it works, because things when you get signed up as an affiliate, then things change. They put ads on your thing, Hang on just a second here. This is all tangled up back here. All right. And so I might be, it might be a little even more wacky than usual as I try to figure out how to do all this stuff. I think I have ads turned on. I don't know. And I don't know if it's going to tell me when there's ads or not. So this is going to be interesting. I think, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But before I get going, I want to thank my first subscriber. I just got my, you can't do subscribers until you sign up as an affiliate or whatever, until you get affiliate. So Sydney, aka Coco, is my first sub. he gave me a sub, and I haven't figured out how to even look at that to see what that means or anything. So, but thank you, Sydney, for doing that. And I also want to thank Snowy City, who followed me yesterday. Let's see who else I have here. I because I didn't have affiliate, I didn't have alerts. So when people follow me, I can't really tell that they're following me until later on they show up in my notifications or whatever here. Let's see, we got a shout out. Mississippi followed me. Thank you, Mississippi. Crazy Asian followed me 7 days ago. I don't remember if I announced that one. Thank you, Crazy Asian. Femvox fan followed me 9 days ago. DCI Banks followed me 9 days ago. O Racket followed me 10 days ago. MN Girl 99, I assume that's MN Minnesota Girl 99 followed me. So if you followed me and you didn't make it onto my notifications here, thank you for following me. I appreciate it. So another thing I needed to do was I have to have some sort of an intro video. Maybe I'll just take the first 60 seconds of this stream and do that as my intro. I don't know. I got it. You're supposed to put when you get affiliate, you're supposed to put up a video that welcome video or a summary video or whatever, I don't know, intro video, something like that, which you can't do until you're affiliate. So that's something I got to do. I did get my channel points set up, so that's good. They're kind of halfway set. I didn't put any rewards in there yet, so that's another thing. Oh, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, none of this makes any sense to you. This is a live stream on Twitch, so you can feel free to skip ahead to the part where I start talking about taxes, which is probably why you clicked on the video, right? So yeah, I got my channel points set up, and I put a little icon up there, and I'm calling them Quanta, right? Why not? That's, Quanta seems like a good... Bits is the smallest thing really on Twitch. I think it's the smallest, and so Quanta is is like the small quantum, all that, quantum mechanics, you get it. So that's what I'm calling them. I'm calling them Quanta instead of channel points or whatever, and they're bits. And there's bits and channel points are two different things. Okay. My channel points I'm calling Quanta. Bits are just bits. I don't know. You just call them bits. And I haven't figured out how bits work yet. You buy them and use them for something. I haven't figured that out yet. But if you just watch the stream, you get Quanta. And then at some point we'll have something you can redeem to do something. If you there are redeems in there right now. Let me see. Pop up. Let's see what this is here. Pop-ups and rewards. Maybe I'm getting message effects. You can highlight your message. On-screen celebration, which probably doesn't work because I don't have figured out how to do alerts. Set that up yet. Yeah, highlight a message. Unlock a sub emote. Okay, I haven't set up my emotes yet either yet. Is that what they're called? Emotes? Yeah. Unlock. That's not lighting up. Jesus. Yeah, emotes. Send a message. I don't know. I don't know what they are. We'll figure it out. We'll discover it as we go along. And at some point here, I think this is going to be interrupted with an ad, but I don't know if I'm going to know that or not. They say that the streamer gets a message somehow that an ad is playing. And I just left everything at the default. So I think it was set up so there would be no pre-rolls, but there would be an ad every few minutes or something. So I really don't know. So that's kind of a drag. It's going to be interrupted here every so often with an ad, and at some point I'll figure out how to make that the least intrusive, for folks. Oh, I didn't check out my sync. I always got to check out to make sure that my audio is in sync. So let me check that out right now and make sure that's working. Yeah, it seems to be in sync, so I think we're okay. All right. So, all right. Another thing that I figured out my last stream. I think it was my last stream. I was talking about everything. I was talking about problems in the world problems. You know, how from a high level. You know what's going on, international relations, and all that kind of stuff. And I tried to use my writing this what do you call it? Wacom. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's not pronounced how you would think it is, but I don't remember how it's pronounced. I call it Wacom. See this thing here? Wacom. I don't know what it is, but it the default is set up. I got two monitors here, and it's set up so that it the problem was that, I have two displays here, and it was set up so that one of my displays was over here and the other display was over here. So when I went to write, it was really hard to write, and my writing was all scrunched up. So my handwriting should be better. Also, I figured out how to do how to type stuff in instead of writing it. And I have dyslexia, by the way. I have social dyslexia also. I think they're kind of related, maybe. I think they haven't done a lot of research, but I think the research says that stuff that your social cues and all that are processed in the same parts of the brain, at least in part, by as languages. So that kind of screws me up. So you'll notice that probably at some point in the stream that I have social dyslexia, and when I write stuff, I have dyslexia, so I can't spell things very well and stuff like that. But I'm not stupid. I don't think I'm smart, but I just can't spell. So let me flip this thing up here and see if this is still working. Okay, first thing I want to do is start. No, actually, first thing I want to do, I think, is get rid of this. And then bring up my Tux paint. This paint program that I use is for children. I wanted to get the simplest thing I could. So I got this this package called Tux Paint. Now let's see, why is that not working here? Okay. There we go. All right, so I got this thing here. That's some previous thing here. Let me see. New. Okay, I clicked new, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. There we go. Click new. And I'll make this a blackboard instead of a whiteboard. Just try to save everybody's eyes. And we're blackboard with chalk, old school. All right, so let me see how this looks here. Let's see if this is actually working. And let me make sure my okay, my mic is still working. Everything's still going. So now I can, when I come over here, can you see that? The whole thing. Here's from here all the way over to here. See, before that part was all squished over into this one part of the thing, which made it very difficult for me to write. So now I should be able to write better here. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, that's a little bit. That's clear, isn't it? Yeah, that's clear. All right, let me see. I'll undo that. All right, so it's. Oh, it's It's not going to let me undo. All right, let me, I'll use the eraser. Let's see how that works. And it should be doing sound effects too. If the sound effects get irritating, let me know and I'll shut them off. Yeah, that eraser sound is pretty irritating. Oh, well, hopefully I won't have to erase too much. Alright, so, alright, I guess I'll start talking about taxes here. Everything seems to be set up. Enough meta stuff here. Alright. So, paint. Alright, so the tax system. I don't know a lot of details about the tax system, but I know that it's unfair. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody thinks it's unfair. I think everybody knows it's unfair. And a lot of people say it's fair, but those are the people who think that they're getting an advantage from it, right? You know, if somebody has a bunch of businesses and stuff like that, and they're getting away with not paying any taxes, they'll tell everybody, yeah, it's fair, it's a fair system, of course it's fair, blah blah blah. And when you hear people, saying, oh, the rich people are paying their fair share because the they're paying a higher percentage, or they're whatever, or they pass a law that lowers the rate, and they say, well, the businesses got only 2% reduction, and we got the people got 5% or whatever. It's it's numbers, right? You can make them say anything you want, but it's not fair. Everybody knows it's not fair. And I talked about this a little bit in my last stream. It's the way the political system is set up. I mean, this is the main course, for politicians. This is their main way of making money. One of their main ways of making money is through the tax system. They sell their votes to politicians. Politicians say they want, a certain deduction or a certain credit or exemption or whatever, and they pay the politicians to do that. And politicians pass the law that helps the businesses, and then us, working people or retired people or whoever, just plain old folks, end up paying, footing the bill, for the deductions for the businesses. So yeah, it's not fair. And the way it's not fair is that you've got. I guess I can just write this. I could do it this way. Let me try typing this in here. So businesses. See, businesses. Okay. So they have like their gross income, right? Their gross income, which they call revenue now. They call it revenue now. It didn't used to be called revenue. This is all the money that the business takes in. They call it revenue. Before they passed the income tax, earlier in 20th century, income was all the money that they brought in, and then they passed the income tax, and then they changed the words so that income was only what was left over after they had deduction. So like a business, like a store or whatever, Walmart, whoever, they get revenue, Let's say they get in $100 million, okay? Then they have deductions, right? They have expenses. Expenses. That's pretty good. Okay, and let's say their expenses are 90% or something, right? So it's 90 million minus 90. Oops. Yeah. Subtract 90 million. So their gross income Okay, these are not actual numbers. Okay, I'm just typing this in just as for illustration purposes. Okay, Walmart makes a lot more than this. So let's say their gross income is 10 million. Okay, and then they have write-offs on that too. They have the deductions, the expenses of the deductions. Then they have a gross income. Then they have credits. You know, maybe they have credits. They have, you know, also way up here. They could have made up here. They could have made. Whoops, that's not right. Maybe they made. And this is just generic business. Okay, I don't know. I'm saying Walmart, it could be anybody. So up here they actually brought in, let's say, they actually brought in 120 million is what they actually brought in. Okay, then they have exemptions. Which gives them revenue of 100. So you see what I'm saying? They actually bring in 120 million. Then they have exemptions. They say, okay, some of this income is exempt from altogether. It doesn't even go on the tax form. Okay. Then they got revenue of 100 million. Then they have expenses. You know, this is their employees or whatever. Then they have gross income, and then they have credits. They can have credits they can take off of that, even, you know, investments or research or whatever. So let's say you've got shit. Let's see, undo. So let's say they've got 2 million or 3 million in credits. 3 million in credits. Jesus, wow, that's kind of weird, man. I don't know why that does that. All right, credits. All right. So, paint. So they end up with only 7 million here, right? Net. This is, you know, there are all kinds of these type of things. I'm just putting in the major things that I know of. You know, there are all kinds of these kind of things, and then they get taxed on this, you know, and whatever the corporate tax rate is now. I haven't kept track. It's less than the regular rate. Suppose that's taxed at 20%. So 20% of 1 million is going to be 1.4 million. All right. So here they made $120 million. They get taxed 1.4 million. Got my little calculator here. So 1.4 divided by 120. So they're getting taxed at point. This business actually didn't do too good. They do a lot. Most of them do better than this. So they're getting taxed at 1.16%. That's their tax rate, right? And that's how they do it. This is the way they get away with it. And everybody else is paying 35% or 30% or whatever, you know. And the deductions that they get is just a tiny fraction of that. You know what I mean? If you take the amount that the deductions from your paycheck and all that kind of stuff, you're paying net. You know, you're paying 20% or on the total amount that you make. You know, as an individual. Here, let's do it as an individual. Now there are some exemptions, but they're like for gifts, right? Your Christmas gifts or something like that don't count as your income. Okay, but let's say you make yeah, I'll put it in here anyway. God damn, this thing is something else. All right, so let's say this person is making 80K. All right, I think that's more than average actually. And then they get exemptions. Okay, and that 80K includes their Christmas gifts. Okay. Maybe they got $1,000 worth of Christmas gifts. So their revenue, revenue is going to be 79K. All right. And expenses, they don't get to deduct expenses. They get, maybe they deduct their house, or something like that, deductions, all right? And their deductions are, I don't know what they get, 5K maybe? I don't know what you get a standard deduction. Let's go 8K. And so their gross income, because see, the tax system doesn't allow an individual to deduct like a business does. So let's say so their gross income would be 71. Did I do that right? Yeah, 71K. And then maybe they have credits, child credit. I don't know. Somebody making 80K. I don't know. Maybe they get a credit of some sort. It's typically just like $100 or something, or $200. Let's say $250. I don't know what the amount is. It's not very much, right? And so here, let's make it 1,000 to make this calculation a little bit easier. All right. So they're going to get their total amount that they're going to get taxed on is going to be 70K, 70,000. All right. And the tax rate for somebody at 80K, I don't know what it is. Somebody can look it up, but typically it's like 30%, 35%, let's say 30%. It's more than what the corporation's rate is. I know that. So $70,000 times 30%. That's $21,000. 21,000. So figure out what that is. You got 21,000 to figure out what the percentage of the actual amount that they're paying to the actual amount that they brought in up here. So 21,000 divided by 80,000. So they're paying 26.25% of their gross income. So you see how that works? So just a working person, and this is just the income tax. There's other stuff that's even worse. Maybe I'll get into. But so if you're just a working person, just at a job or whatever, maybe you're paying this much, 26%. But a huge big business making millions and millions of dollars, they're paying 1% of their main money because of all these deductions and credits and all that. They can write off stuff. And the stuff that an individual can write off is not that much. You know, if you're lucky and you got a house, and you're unlucky enough to have a mortgage on your house, then you can deduct the interest payment on your mortgage. You know, which is another the interest rate. Everybody says, "Oh, the interest rate on my house. Look at this money I can save." Blah blah blah. You know, that's you're paying that interest to the bank. The bank is making money because of that, and the deduction for the mortgage interest is a payoff to the banks. That makes it easier for people to, for the banks to make more money on loans. You know what I'm saying? It's more like people will more likely get a loan and buy a house rather than save up and pay cash because they can because they could deduct the thing. So it's like a subsidy to the banks. You know? So no, it's not a fair system. And then another thing is that you let me save this and so you get how that this is just the income tax, okay? Income tax. Oh, yeah, I'm using my mouse to write with. No wonder it looks so wacko. All right, let's do this a little bit. There we go. Income tax. There we go. All right. So let me save this. Did it save? I don't know. Don't I have to give it a file name? All right. So let me do new. Blank. All right. So the other, now that's just the income tax. Then there's also the Social Security system, and that is set up so that wealthy people pay less tax just by the way the thing's set up. You know, if you make 0 to, I don't know what the cap is, but if you make anywhere from 0 to I think it's like 200,000 or something like that. Let me look that up. Let me see what that is, because that's an easy thing I can just look up here. Let's see. Oh, all right. Let's see. Here, I'll just ask Google. We'll do a Google here and see what Google says about this. Although Google is a millionaire, right? It's run by millionaires, so there's that. Google, there we go. Okay. What is the social or payroll tax cap? Let's see. Tax cap. Let's see if it says what that is. There it is, $167,000 per year, which is the cap on earnings taxed by Social Security. Escape tax. Yeah. A civil engineer earning $167,100 per year looks the same as Elon Musk in the eyes of the Social Security system. Now, it's even worse than that. It's not the same. It's worse. All right, let me switch this over here. So it's I'll just call it 176,000 just to make it easier to calculate here. All right. All right, so 176,000. So I should have got the rates too. It's like 7 or 8% or something like that. So between 0 and 176,000, you got to pay payroll taxes for Social Security. Let me see what the rate is. tax rate. Let's see here, really quick here. Social Security rate is 6. Oh, so you got to add them up. Total is 765. And for employers, the current FICA tax rate, which is split evenly between employers and employees. Okay, so it's 765 each one. Okay. So that's taxed at 7.65%. And the employee pays, the worker. Oh shit! I'm trying to write with the goddamn mouse again. Let me try this here. All right. So this is the employee. I'll just call it worker, right? Worker. This is the worker pays this much, and the boss pays this much. Pays the same amount for each worker, right? So if you make what was the example we had? 80K, right? 79K, whatever, 80K. Then you're paying 80K times 7.6%. 80,000 times 0.0765. So you're paying, in addition to all that income tax, you're paying $6,120. And your boss is paying that much, which they're just deducting from your salary to pay anyway, right? They got a certain amount that they're they got a certain amount allocated, bird cost for an employee, and then they just throw this in there as part of that. So it's whatever they're paying here, that's $6,000 that they could have paid you more in salary, right? That they're paying taxes. So really, you're effectively paying the 15 or 16% or whatever. But then take the case of somebody. Let's say somebody makes $100 million. They don't pay 7.65% on $100 million. They only pay 7.65% on the maximum, the $176,000. So you got $176,000 times 0.0765. That's $13,464. So somebody who makes that $100 million, they pay $13,464, and their boss pays $13,000. They're probably the boss if they're making that much, but the business pays that much too. So look at what that is. You are paying 7.6%. But the guy making $100 million, he's paying, here, we'll figure that out, 13,464 divided by 100 million. So he's paying 0.013%. Okay? So the worker pays this percentage, 7.65. The boss making $100 million pays 0.013. And just to add insult to injury, when these two guys retire and get their Social Security benefits, the boss is going to make more. The boss is going to get more Social Security benefits than the worker did, even though the worker is paying a whole bunch more percentage. So, no, it's not fair. It's not a fair system at all. You know. Let's see what a fair system would look like, right? If we wanted to do a fair system, everybody says, well, fair is everybody pays the same rate. Okay, all right, fine. Some people who are more progressive, liberal, whatever word you want to use, who want a progressive system or tax system, will say, oh, the rich people should pay more. But if everybody paid on every dollar they made the same amount, here's what would happen. So imagine a guy making $100 million. All right. And a guy making 80K. And imagine a tax rate of 1%. Okay, 1% tax. Okay, so the really wealthy guy, 1%, he's going to be paying $1 million. Instead of paying 13,000 or whatever, he's going to pay $1 million, right? And the worker making 80K, he's going to pay $800. Did I do that math right? Yeah, I think I did that right. I did it in my head. Let me do it on a calculator, because we're 80,000 times 0.01. Yeah, $800. You see that? So if we had a tax rate where everybody paid 1%, that seems fair to me, right? Even if it's a business or an individual or anybody, they can't deduct anything. They don't have any exemptions. All their money. In fact, this would be 120, right? That was the example that we used. So that would be 1.2. Yeah. Undo. Oh wait, that's the wrong damn thing. Okay. So, and you say, well, but that's not enough money, right? That's not enough money to run the government and all that. But it is. It's more than enough. And here's why. Because of all these deductions and everything, there's a huge amount, 99% of the money that the wealthy people are making isn't even counted as taxable. You know what I'm saying? So, but if you counted all of it, the total amount that we bring in, if you count every single dollar that changes hands, okay? Every time you give, $20 to Walmart to buy something, that $20 they get taxed on, the full $20 instead of deducting all that shit, Every time a bank makes a loan, every time, somebody sells some stock and they get money from selling the stock, you pay 1% of all the money they get. No deductions, no basis, step up in basis, blah, 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 They just pay. Whatever the amount is that changes hands, you pay it. So how much money would that bring into the government? The government requires right now about $6 trillion, I think it is. Let's look that up right now, so we'll figure this out. All right. Okay. How much does the U.S. government spend per year? All right, that's a pretty simple one. How much does the U.S. government spend per year? Why didn't that? 6.8 trillion. Okay, they said. All right, and they're running a deficit. So let's say 7 trillion. All right. $7 trillion. That's how much we need, okay, to run the government. Okay. In the U.S., if you count up all of the money that changes hands every year, every time somebody pays their utility bill, every time they pay off a credit card, interbank loans, every time somebody sells stock, every time somebody buys a yacht, every time, every single dollar that changes hands for any reason, it's about $1,800 trillion, or maybe 2,000 trillion dollars per year. Every single dollar that changes hands. All right. So if you tax, let's take the low. Let's take a conservative. Let's say it's $1,800 trillion. Take 1% of that. You move the decimal place over two times, right? 1%. 1, 2. 1% of that is $18 trillion. So if we taxed every single dollar that changes hands in the U.S. at 1%, we'd have more than double the amount of revenue coming into the government. Do you pay more than 1% in tax every year? If you pay more than 1% in tax, you're getting a short end of the stick, okay? Because if they taxed everybody the same rate, 1%, that'd be enough money to pay every single thing that we do in the government today, and it would also be able to fund a universal basic income. It would end homelessness, right? It would fix everything. It would fix all the problems we have. Just 1% of the tax of the money got taxed at 1%. So no, our system is not fair. And you can tell if you're a lot of people say, oh, look at all these deductions I get. I get to deduct my mortgage. I get to deduct, my little home office business or blah, 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 Well, if after all those deductions and everything, if you're paying more than 1% on what your gross income was, you're getting screwed. You're on the short end of the stick, because there are businesses making, billions and billions of dollars, or billions of dollars, who are paying nothing, or they're paying 0.001 or whatever, they're paying tiny amounts. So it's a completely unfair system, All right. So I don't know how many people bothered to pay their taxes this year. I think more and more people are not bothering to do it. Be interesting to see how many people actually paid their taxes. I don't think they're going to say. If a lot of people aren't, I just anecdotally, I keep hearing more and more people just saying they're not bothering to pay their taxes. So it'd be interesting to see what the deal is. How many, if half people decide not to pay their taxes, that would definitely help move us towards a successful revolution. I'm not advocating people to break the law, but Martin Luther King, when they passed the civil rights, were fighting for civil rights and finally got the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. The tactics they used were boycotts and sit-ins and civil disobedience. That's what they used for that revolution. and it was nonviolent for the most part. Any violence was on the other side. It wasn't the people, the protesters and stuff. So, all right. All right, what else was I going to do here? Let me see here. See if there was something else that I had to do here. Yeah, I don't. Whenever the president comes on, the current president, whenever they show him on the news or anything like that, I turn the channel immediately. I just don't listen to anything he has to say. If he actually does something, then I'll learn about it, right? It'll be news. I'll hear about it. But in terms of what he says, I don't listen at all, ever. If he comes out and says something, I just turn the channel. And I think that's a healthy way to do it, because he's just doing things that are illegal, and it just makes everybody upset when they hear about it. But if you just don't listen to what he says, because he says a bunch of racist and offensive things all the time, if you just don't listen to that, and be a good citizen, know what's going on, know what is actually being done, But in terms of listening to all the BS, just skip, don't listen to that, And that's what I do. And the media will get the message, right? If you stop watching and listening, if every time Trump comes on the news, if you turn a channel, they're going to know it. They're going to see. They're going to see. Okay, we've got this many viewers, and we show Trump saying something, and the viewer goes like this. They're going to know that, and they're going to stop doing that. They're going to stop showing them. So, let's see, education. Let's see what I've got here. Election information. I think I've talked about that before, how to do elections. That's something different. Let's see, tax system. I don't know if I have anything else on taxes here. Let's see. Strike, fundraising. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else here on taxes that I could talk about. No. I guess I could talk about that election system thing. I don't know if I've actually gotten into that in detail. So maybe I should do that. Let me talk about that a little bit. Because I don't remember if I actually got into the details of it, Oh, I got rid of my Tux program. I got to start my Tux program again. This little paint program. God, that was quite an ordeal to get that thing reconfigured for so it would work properly. Getting it all. And I had done it once before, and it erased itself, so I had to set it up so it would automatically rewrite each time. And I don't know if it's going to work each time now. So it's kind of an experiment. All right, let's see, new. Okay, yeah. Save that. Replace the old one. All right. All right. So what we could do, when everybody goes to vote, the way the system works right now is that you go in, you cast a ballot, and you put it in a box or whatever, and then some mystery thing happens, And, they say they have watchers that watch it and all that kind of stuff, but people don't really know. There's no way for you to track to find out if they counted your ballot or not. And there's no way for you to look and verify that they counted everybody's ballot properly, right? You just have to trust that they're doing it right, and that there are some people who are watching the system that we don't know who they are or whatever, but believe them that they're telling us that it's being watched and fixed or whatever. And this never used to be a problem, by the way. a few decades ago, nobody questioned the election system because people generally, the population, was not as corrupt as it is now, and you could trust that people would not, it was sink or sink. The election system was, it's like democracy. That's the whole thing. And everybody just kind of trusted that, it's so important that people aren't going to mess with it. But now our society's gotten so corrupt that we can't do that anymore. We can't trust that that people are going to be honest about that. So we need a system where you can verify that. And the way you do that is so you have a ballot, right? Everybody casts their ballot. Right? They check off who they want here, blah, 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 whatever, all these different things. They cast their ballot, and before you stick it in a box, you have a little camera. You lay the ballot down, you take a picture of it. Okay? Then the ballot goes into the box. Okay? So every ballot that gets cast goes into the box. And every ballot has a code on it, some indecipherable code that nobody knows. It's just a random generated bunch of letters and numbers. So each ballot has a number on the bottom of it. And when you cast your ballot, there's a number here on the ballot at the bottom. There's also a little slip that you tear off that has the same number on it. Okay? So you cast your ballot, they tear off a little slip, and you get to keep the little slip that has the number of your ballot on it. And it's a secret number. You don't if you don't want to, you don't tell anybody what that number is. Nobody knows that number is you. It's random, right? So you get a little receipt when you cast your ballot. They take a picture of your ballot, goes into the box. They count them any way they want to. But all these pictures go onto a server somewhere. Servers, probably, right? With all the pictures of all the ballots. And then and you have the internet. And so every single ballot that is cast goes onto these servers. And it doesn't take that much space now, right? It's a few gigabytes, will cover every ballot in the whole country now, right? Because they can compress it. A ballot is mostly white space. It'd be pretty easy to compress. Mem loss. Hey, excuse me. I'm gonna take a break here and look at chat. Mem loss. My computer froze right when you were saying if after all the deductions you're. Oh yeah. I don't know what. Yeah, I said deduction. I said deductions about 20 times during every step, so I'm not sure at which point you were talking about after deductions. I hope you can still see my. Let me type this in. Excuse me, people. I gotta type this in. Find out if my stream is still working. I think it is. Oh, paying over 1%. Oh, okay. Deductions. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. If in other words, you figure out all the money that you take in, from every source, right? All your wages. If you make interest. If you make some money in stocks, blah, blah, blah. If you sell a stock and you get money from that stock, every dollar that comes in, if you take 1% of that, if that was your tax, is that more than you're paying now or less than you're paying now? If it's less than what you're paying now, then what you're paying now, you're getting screwed, because now I get an ad. Oh, okay. Now I don't know. Now this is weird that it's. I got no nothing here that's telling me that there's an ad, which is kind of interesting. I guess I need to run this other little doohickey here to know that the ads are running. Let's see what I got to do here. Okay, that's not. Oh yeah, we're about 1 hour, so back. Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's about 1 hour, so that makes sense. So they're gonna. I think they're running an ad every 18 minutes or something like that. But I got no. All right, I'm gonna bring this stream manager up here, and maybe that will tell me when it runs an ad. Because they're supposed to let me know when they're running an ad somehow. Maybe I have to enable something else. I don't know. All right. All right, so you can see this, right? I got a 30-second one. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. 30 seconds, that's not too bad. I think I have it set it up so there are no pre-rolls, because those are very, very irritating. I know when I click into somebody's stream and I want to know what they're talking about right then, and then I got to sit there and wait for a pre-roll. That's kind of frustrating. So yeah, I was saying that if you take all the top line, right, every dollar that you bring in, you take 1% of that. Is that more than what you're paying right now in taxes, or less than what you're paying right now in taxes? If it's less than what you're paying right now in taxes, then you're getting screwed under the current system. If you're paying more than 1%, then that's the bottom line, Memloss, is that if you take all of the money that changes hands in the United States, it's a huge, huge number. It's trillions. It's like $1,800 trillion or something like that. It's a huge, huge, huge number. Every check that gets cashed, every stock that gets sold, every loan that gets funded back and forth between banks, everything. It's a huge number. And the problem is that the current tax system is set up so that businesses and wealthy people don't have to count that. It's either completely exempt from taxes, or they can deduct stuff from it, so they don't have to pay tax on it, and so they end up paying 0.001% or something, on the total amount of money that they're actually taking in, whereas everybody else, maybe gets a few $1,000s deduction, but basically they're paying almost on the full amount that they bring in. And the way it works out is if we had a tax system that taxed at 1%. On everything, with no exemptions, no deductions, and every single dollar that changed hands got taxed, it would be like $18 trillion of revenue for the government, which is more than double what we're taking in right now. That's at 1%. So if you're paying more than 1%, if you're paying more than 0.5%, really, you're getting screwed. From the tax system. If you pay more than 0.5% tax on your top line money of what you bring in currently in income tax and other taxes, then you're getting screwed right now. And all the wealthy people were laughing, and saying, "Oh, look at all this money we're making," So, all right, back to the ballot system. I hope that made sense to you, Memloss. If not, I guess you could look at the VOD. It's pretty clear, I think. I think it made sense the way I explained it. So we could have a ballot system where every single ballot, they take a picture of it, put the picture on a server somewhere, and then people can go use the internet to access a website and look at every single ballot. So you cast your ballot, you get a little receipt here with a serial number on it, or it's a unique number. Then you get on your computer here, and you type that number in, or you access it anyway, however, and you look at the pictures of the ballots, and you can find your ballot and see, okay, yeah, they got my ballot. It got scanned in. It got counted. And if you want to, you could write a little program that could go through all of those images of all those ballots and count them up for yourself if you wanted to. And it would be completely transparent. Oh, great, you got it. Great, thank you, Memlos. So this would be a completely transparent system. It would record every ballot, and you keep the paper ballots right as backup. You got to have paper ballot backup, right? That's kind of important. They figured that out. But you take a picture of every ballot too, and anybody in the world could go on the internet, look at this, go to a website or whatever where all the images are, and count the ballots for themselves if they wanted to. They could search and find the ballot that they cast to make sure that their ballot got counted. It would be completely transparent. And this is something they could do. They had the technology to do this decades ago, right? Or at least a decade ago. It would be trivial, right, to implement this. It wouldn't cost that much at all to implement something like this. And this is democracy. Elections is like the number one thing, right? If there's anything that they got to get right, it's elections, right? That's a bare minimum of a democracy, is to get the election right, And this would do it, right? It would just be completely transparent. So I don't know why they don't do this. It's a simple thing. There was a guy came up with this idea, or something similar to it, over a decade ago. I found out. I came up with this idea independently. I'm sure a lot of people have come up with this idea independently. And I searched and searched and found this guy who had also come up with it over a decade ago. And proposed it and stuff like this, but they don't do it. And I don't know why they do it. The cynical part of me says they don't do this because they don't want it to be transparent, because if somebody ever gets elected that they don't like, if we really are successful with the revolution and we put a bunch of people in power that are, actually for the people, then they can say, oh, the election was messed up, and or it doesn't count, or whatever. Do what Trump did, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think they actually want the system to be this way. I don't think they want it to be transparent. I think they want to, maybe not interfere with the elections system the way it is, but if it ever, if they ever lost power, if they lost control of Congress, the wealthy people, I wouldn't put it past it. I wouldn't put it past them to, try to avoid an election or do what Trump did, to try to prevent it, where they couldn't do that with this system. This system is completely transparent, Everybody would know that their ballot was counted or not. Everybody could count the ballots themselves to see what the result of the election was with this system. So, anyway, that I think we should be doing. It's such a simple thing to do that. So, all right. Yes, I'm done. Okay, there we go. So that would be a simple thing to do that. I just don't, for the life of me, I don't understand why they don't do it. Or I guess I do understand it, right? I just explain why they don't do it. I always thought that everybody wanted democracy. I thought they were like core things, right? Everybody wanted democracy. Everybody wanted freedom and liberty. That was something everybody wanted. That everybody wanted a system that wasn't corrupt. That was they had integrity. Everybody wanted equality. I always just assumed that everybody, because those were like core U.S. values. That's it's like, to me, it was like, if somebody doesn't believe in democracy and freedom and equality, and integrity, then they're living in the wrong country. That's what I always thought. This is the United States. This is kind of like our core stuff. But now I'm learning that it's not. That's the wealthy people want people to believe that. They want people to believe that that's what it is, but they don't actually want a system like that. They want a rigged system. They want a system where they don't pay any taxes and where they have all the power and where Congress doesn't listen to the people, doesn't care about what the people think, blah, blah, blah. That's what they want. So it's sad. Yeah, my last stream, you can go back and look at the bottom of my last stream and I get into a lot of, I talked about the revolution we had in the 60s that changed a bunch of stuff. We could do that again. There's no reason why we can't do that again. Have another, peaceful, nonviolent revolution and kind of, new constitution, start over, there's no reason why we can't do that. Make it a little bit more, more for the people, than the way it is now. All right. So let me see if there's something else in here. All right, let me talk about something completely different here. There was something that I found out about here that I'll bring up that I thought was kind of cool, something I learned about. This thing here, I can't remember how I found out about this, but it's hydrogen powered. This is back in 1988. Was this NASA or somebody came up with this airplane here. It's a hydrogen powered, commercial aircraft. Oh, maybe this is Russian. I don't know who this is, but it's hydrogen powered. And we're trying to make this conversion to for the climate and all that, and get off of fossil fuels. And one of the sticking points, ground transportation's easy, right? We already got that. We got electric cars, we got electric semi trucks, we got we got that wired, right? We can go there. But the problem always was the aircraft. How do you get an airplane? It's hard to have an electric airplane. And one of the ways is to use hydrogen, is to have a hydrogen powered airplane. And they also have electric powered aircraft, but those are maybe for, small deliveries and short hops and things like that. But you'd need a lot more energy to do it with hydrogen, or to fly, long haul, and carry a bunch of people or whatever, But of course, the problem with hydrogen is that even if you liquefy it, it still has less. You look at the energy density of all these different things. Let's see, per kilogram. Oh, okay, it's way up there then. Okay, hydrogen is way up there then. Okay, they don't have fossil fuels on here. Oh, there's gasoline. Okay, this is energy density. Okay, I see what they're saying. So yeah, that makes sense. Hydrogen is energy. It has a high energy density per kilogram, but the problem is it takes up a lot of space. So. But anyway, this was something that they figured out back in 1988. So we can get there from here. I think we can figure this out. Figure out how to do aircraft, cleanly. So for short haul stuff, they could just use battery powered and aircraft, and for long haul, then they can use hydrogen or something like that. So I thought that was kind of cool that they had figured that out. So that was always something that was always coming up. How are we going to do aircraft? With when there's with renewables. And that was one of the things. Let's see if I've got anything else going on here. Strike. See if there's anything else I want to talk about. Grab a star. I don't know what that is. Oh yeah, that was another thing that I was talking about, were black holes. Somebody came up with a. I was watching a video. One of these guys, maybe it was Star Talk or somebody, was talking about black holes. And something that I thought of, and after I thought of it, I thought, damn, that's amazing, is that in the center of a black hole, there's no gravity, which is intuitively you'd say, no way. How can that possibly be? That in the center of a black hole, there's no gravity. Here, I'll explain it. Okay, I'll get my little thing out again here. Yeah, in the center of a black hole, there is no gravity. And the reason that is because something called the shell theorem. Oh, damn. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. All right. New. Give me a new thing here. Yeah, in the center of a black hole, there's no gravity. So you say, how can that possibly be? How can there be no gravity in the center of a black hole? And the way that works is, let me see if I can get this to draw a circle. So you got a black hole. All right. And there's the center of the black hole. That's not quite the center, is it? Let me undo that. Let's see if I can get that in the center. So there's the center of the black hole. And let's say this outer part here is the event horizon. So anything that gets beyond this point can't escape, right? You know how black holes work, right? It's basically escape velocity at the event horizon is faster than the speed of light, or is the speed of light. So not even light can escape. Nothing, no matter how fast it goes, can escape. And the theory is that there's crushing pressure that pushes everything down. And people think, oh, there's a singularity at the center of a black hole. But there's not. I don't think there is. That's another thing I'll talk about. But there's something called the shell theorem. And that anybody, any spherical mass, the Earth, the Moon, anything, the amount of gravity is based on the mass, right? So at the surface here, and it's actually curvature of space-time, right? It's not a force, it's curvature of space-time, but it's based on the mass. So if you're here on the surface, let's say this is the Earth, right? You're on the surface of the Earth. There's gonna be a force that is pushing against your butt if you're sitting in a chair that you feel, and it's the acceleration of gravity. And that is going to come from all different places, right? There's going to be a little bit coming from here. There's a little bit of mass over here that's going to be pulling. There's a little bit on this side too that's going to be pulling, and those two will cancel each other out because it's symmetrical. And they will all these spots everywhere will all exert this force, and it all balances out to a vector that points this way, right? When you're sitting in a chair, you feel it on your butt. There's a force, right? But it all balances out, and it's this direction. But as you head in towards the Earth, as you get closer and closer, further and further down into the Earth, then now there's some mass out here, right? If you're right here instead, here you are inside the Earth there. There's some mass out here that's exerting a force now, and there's some on this side. So this mass out here kind of partially reverses this mass that's left over all over here. So it's actually less. You get a little bit more in the beginning. You get a little bit more because you're getting closer, because it's square of the r squared. So you're getting a little bit more. But as you get like halfway down here, then you've got a whole bunch of mass up here that's exerting the force in the other direction. So you have less mass. You have less weight. And it turns out that once you get to the center of the Earth, if you're here in the center of the Earth, the mass pulls in all directions equally, which means you're weightless. There's no gravity. There's no gravity at the center. And if this was a hollow sphere, if this was if the Earth was hollow on the inside, every single point inside that hollowed out area would be zero. It would be weightless. You'd have zero gravity. Isn't that amazing? That's how it's called the shell theorem, they call it. And it happens in any body, in the moon, in the Earth, in the sun, everywhere. When you get to the center, there's weightless, and it's in a black hole, the same thing. So in the center of a black hole, there's no gravity, zero gravity. And the maximum, if it's uniform density, that assumes spherical, black hole with spherical even density in the sphere. And if you move in a black hole, the maximum amount of energy is going to be a shell. It's going to be some area, or at some depth in the black hole would be the maximum amount of gravity, and it may even be at the event horizon. Because once you get beyond the event horizon, because of time dilation, the more gravity there is, the slower time goes relative to somebody outside, right? If you fall into a black, somebody just posted, some big super duper streamer just posted something on YouTube about this. I forget her name, Cleo or something like that. Some lady out there who's got a gazillion followers, and she just did a video on this. But it's something that's been around for a long time. When you fall into a black hole, what happens, right? And the thing is that the closer you get to the event horizon, the slower time goes, and it approaches zero, and you never actually you never actually fall all the way, because everything happens that way. Everything slows down from an observer on the outside. Everything slows down so that the black hole doesn't continue to collapse, because time slows down, and it collapses, but it collapses at such a slow rate that it takes longer than the lifespan of the universe for the thing to collapse anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because time slows down so much. So it may be that the maximum amount of gravity is right here near the event horizon, where time stops, and the rest of this stuff is, or at least wherever the maximum amount of gravity is, time stops, and then below that, where there is less gravity, time would continue, and then it would collapse. But then if it got down, maybe there's another event horizon here. We don't know. We don't know how that works. So the guy, there's a really famous guy who knows a lot about black holes. This guy's name is Kerr. He came up with the Kerr metric, which has to do with the math of a spinning black hole. Well, let me take a break here and read chat before we get into that. Memloss, if you could fall straight through, you'd start slowing down at some point. Yeah, there's a whole thing. In black holes, it works different because of relativity. But like in the Earth, they've done models of the Earth. I'll do that. Give me a second here. Let me finish up this stuff on black holes, and then we'll talk about somebody falling through the Earth and what that would be like. First time chatter, Saber444. Howdy, sir. How you doing? How are you, Saber? Thank you for joining. Welcome to our stream here. If you got any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Memloss, I wonder if you'd slow down to a halt in the middle or oscillate back and forth. Yeah, it turns out you do oscillate. Yeah, in a non-relativistic situation. Let's see. We've got another one. ID. Oh man, sorry guy, I can't read your ID something. Yeah, I can't make out your what your username is there, guy. Sorry, but thank you for joining the stream, and we'll give you a little reward here for joining our stream here, Mr. ID, selling viewers. Saber says, I'm all right and relaxing with dinner. Great. Yeah, I'm going to eat dinner right after this. I made dinner before I started the stream, but I didn't want to eat dinner right before the stream because it, when you eat dinner, all the blood comes from your brain to your stomach, and then I would just end up falling asleep on stream or something. Let's see. The idle guy is a bot. Oh, yeah. We took care of him. Yeah, we took care of that. Thank you, Saber, for letting me know. Yeah, they come in here sometimes. All right, so what were we talking about? Black hole. Yeah, this guy named Kerr, he figured out the math for, well, the first guy, Schwarzschild, did just a static, regular black hole with no charge or anything, just a black hole. He was the first guy to come out with a solution to Einstein's equations for a black hole. Then Kerr came out with a solution for a spinning black hole, and then later they did black holes that had electric charges and all kinds of stuff. But this guy Kerr, who originally came out with what's known as the Kerr metric for a spinning black hole, he just came out with a paper recently, last few years, where he said, yeah, that there might not be a singularity, at least in some cases in black holes, in a spinning black hole. And he figured out the math for doing that. But I think in any black hole, there would not be a singularity just because there hasn't been enough time passed. We've had billions and billions and billions of years that have passed in the universe, right? What is it, 13, 14 billion or whatever it is? Whatever they think the number is. But that's out here in the outside. The proper time inside a black hole where you're approaching zero time, maybe at that point it's been, just a few hours or something. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the dilation is, it keeps increasing. Now you could say that's the actual singularity, right? That it approaches zero time because it's space-time. If it's a space-time singularity, then it's not just space, it's also time that approaches zero, and time freezes. But there's if you say if it approaches zero and never actually gets there, then it doesn't actually reach a singularity. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, that's a lot of different ways you can think about black holes, and who was I think it was Star Talk did it, and I commented on his thing, saying that there's no gravity in the center of a black hole, and that there's no singularities in black holes because of this time dilation thing. All right, let's talk about falling through the Earth because that's kind of fun. I'll do a new thing here. Do I have to hit that twice? Okay. Save it? No, let's not save that. Okay. All right, so let's say we are doing the Earth. Let's say we're going to fall through the Earth. All right, there's the Earth. All right, and let's imagine there's a tunnel from one side of the, or let's see. Let's make it simple. Let's say it's the tunnel starts at the North Pole and goes to the South Pole, because we've got the spinning here and we don't want to confuse that, right? So let's make it very simple here. We've got from the North Pole to the South Pole. Let's see, we got lines here. Let's see, can I do this? Oh my God, look at how slow this program is. All right. All right, and it's a tunnel, so I'll do the other side of the tunnel. Is this making a noise? No. Okay. So what happens when you fall through? If there was a hole that went all the way through the Earth, which you couldn't do, right? Because it's good. Because it's not. the deepest tunnel we've ever done is like, what is it? Just like 4 miles or something. It's not. It's just, it doesn't even dent the crust of the Earth, right? You got a crust. You got the upper magma, the lower magma. You got the outer core, the inner core. There's all you do, and then they believe there's a core of solid iron in the middle, or metal or something. So it's, you couldn't actually do this, right? But if you imagine a hole through the Earth like this, if you fell in or you jumped inside here, oh shit, that's not what I wanted to do. So if you went in this hole here, there at the surface here, the gravity would be 9.81 meters per second. It's an acceleration. It's not just a fixed speed. It's an acceleration. That's why when when a skydiver jumps out on an airplane, at first they're moving 10 miles per hour, and then 20, 30, 40, and they get up to a terminal velocity. They keep getting faster and faster, and that's acceleration. So you would accelerate at 9.81 meters per second squared. In other words, 9.81 meters, you would fall in the first second. The second you'd fall twice that, right? 9.8 or close to 20, right? And it would keep doubling like that. That's why they put the squared on there. 9.81 meters per second squared. And so you would accelerate. You'd start at a certain speed and get faster and faster and faster and faster. And you would keep accelerating. And it actually, the rate of acceleration would increase because the acceleration, the 9.8 meters per second, is at the surface. And when you get a little bit lower into the surface, you're getting closer to the center of mass of the Earth. So it actually increases a little bit. But as you get lower and lower and lower into it, this part that you're getting closer to the center of the Earth, that causes you to increase. But then there's mass up above you, right? That's pulling back. So your rate would slow down. But the thing is, it's even in all directions, right? All sideways directions. So you're not going to be attracted to the side, right? Even if if this was like a big wide thing, a half-mile wide or whatever, say, and you're falling down the center of the thing, even if you drifted one way or the other, you're not going to get pulled to one side or the other from the gravity, because it's going to be weightless anywhere within this hole. There won't be any particular pull except down at the beginning. Also, there's the thing about the air, right? So we're just assuming it's a vacuum, right? Otherwise, you would hit a terminal. The wind resistance, the drag from the wind would slow you down. So we're imagining that this is a vacuum. Somehow we've got a hole in the Earth, and we've set it up so that there's a vacuum here. There's no air inside here to add resistance to what you're doing. Let me check chat here really quick. Okay, falling through without burning up. Yeah, burning up at the core. Yeah, there's also the temperature. Yep, that's a thing too. We'll assume that you've got some sort of protection to protect you from the heat inside the Earth. Memlosh. Yeah, assuming we could. Yeah, also assuming it's a vacuum. Yeah. So you got a vacuum. So at first it's going to your actual rate of increase is going to increase because you're getting closer to the center of mass here. So you're not only are you accelerating, but your rate of acceleration is going to be higher. You're going to be 10 or 12, 11, whatever higher rate of acceleration. But then as you get lower and lower through this hole here, then you've got mass up here that begins as pulling you back, right? A little bit. So your rate of acceleration will increase, And then at some point, as you're getting through here, your rate of acceleration will slow down. You'll still be going as fast as you were going, but you won't be increasing speed as quickly. And at some point here, I don't know, I forget where it is in Earth. I forget. It's like 2/3 or 1/3 of the way down or whatever. At some point here, let's see where the center is here. There's the center of Earth. At some point here, this mass above is going to equal all this mass here, because this mass here is a lot further away, so it's going to have less pull than this mass in here, right? And you work it all out, and at some point here it equals out, so that you're no longer accelerating. So you reach at a top speed at some point in here, and you'll just continue at that speed. And actually, when you get to the center, when you're at the center, the pull is equal all around also. You know what I'm saying? So you just have a continuous speed here. You just keep going. You hit a top speed, and then you just keep going at that top speed. And then at some point here, the same thing, right? You'll have a point here where this mass behind you is pulling more than the mass in front of you, all the total, all the sum of all these vectors. And then you'll start slowing down, and you'll slow down, and you slow down, and you slow down. And it turns out that if there's no other drag or nothing else like that, you don't know friction, nothing like that, you'll slow down, and you'll slow down, and you'll hit 0 right here at the end. So if there was somebody to catch you, they could catch you. You would start out, right, and you'd fall, and you'd go fast, 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 and you reach a top speed, and you'd coast through the center, and you'd start slowing down, and you'd hit 0, and you'd hit exactly 0 at the other end, at the South Pole. Let me check chat here. Yes. So I'm wondering if the gravity could cause you to stay at the core, or would it slingshot you faster going out? Yeah, that's what happens. It doesn't stop you. You just keep following through. This whole, in the center there's zero gravity in the center of the Earth. Did I get the 0 at the center there? And but it does start pulling you back as you get to this side. And it turns out that when you reach the other side, it's exactly 0. And if there was nobody here to catch you, or you couldn't stop yourself or whatever, then you'd get to the here, and it would pull you back down again, and then it'd be the same thing. You'd fall from this point here. You'd fall at 9.81 meters per second squared, and that would increase to 10, 11, 12, whatever the maximum acceleration rate is, and then you'd hit a top speed. And then you just coast all the way through the center again, and you'd go get all the way to the top again. And you just keep doing that. It'd be like you just bounce back and forth, bounce back and forth, and back and forth. And somebody figured out what the actual time would be, and I forget what it is, like an hour, 90, or no, I know what it is. It works out to be the same as the orbital. A low orbital rate, so it's about an hour and a half or something like that to go from here to here, and then an hour and a half back again, and then back again, and back again, and you just keep doing that, and it would work almost the same as a spacecraft that orbits. It's using the same math and everything, because that's what happens. That's what's actually going on with, say the space station or whatever. It's continually falling. It's falling towards the Earth, but it has momentum that's carrying it forward, and those balance out, and it's continually falling all the time. Spacecraft that go around the Earth like that, they're just continually falling all the time, and that's what you'd be doing here. You'd be starting up here, and you'd be falling, right? You get over here, and then you'd be falling again. And it's very similar to like orbiting the Earth. Let's see what we got here. So it's like a pendulum. Yeah, very much. a small effect to the marbles on string. I'm not sure what that means. Sydney, hey Sydney, welcome to chat. How are you? I watched your video, Sydney, on doing emotes. So before I watched your video, I had already figured out how to do. If you look on my channel points in chat there at the bottom, I put a little icon in there for Quanta. I'm calling them Quanta now, the channel points. And I put a little emote in there. And I'm sure it's a very similar thing that you do for emotes. I've done animations before. I've done GIFs and things like that. I'm actually a computer guy, so it shouldn't be too hard for me. It's just a matter of time and just getting the time to figure them out. So yeah, but thank you for doing that video. That was very nice. Yeah, I went through the whole thing and saw that you took those blue jeans and you found a website out there that could animate them for you and all that. That's really cool. I was so surprised how cool that looked because all they did was just did a reverse of those blue jeans and it looked like they were dancing. That was pretty cool. Saber says this one is my favorite emoji. Oh, what is that? Let me take a look at that. Let me click on that. It says stop. Stop. I don't know what that is. Is that somebody holding a gun or something? A pig holding a gun? I don't know what that is. All right. So anyway, so I hope that explains it. I didn't get into any of the detail. I'm not very good at math. And it takes calculus to do this, I think, and I don't know calculus, so I couldn't explain it that well anyway. But if you search for this on YouTube, you'll find a whole bunch of people doing videos on this, and some of them are better than others, at explaining it. But I don't know if anybody has ever explained. I haven't seen anybody talk about this idea that if this was a large hole and you're falling in the middle of it, as long as you're not drifting either way, it's not going to attract you one way or the other because it's symmetrical all the way down. So you're basically weightless, and you're not being pulled to the side. Even if you drifted a little bit towards the side, as long as you didn't touch the side, there would be no gravitational pull that would pull you to the side, one side or the other, as you're falling through there. Yes, for blue jeans emotes, I use the Twitch easy animation. Okay, great, yeah. All right, so that was that. You guys want to play some Gartic? We could play some Gartic if you want to do that. I could try doing that with my new setup here and see if it works. Let me get rid of this. I might as well save it. All right. I'm doing some maintenance here. Okay. Sure, let's try. Okay, great. Let's try that here. Let me see. I got the Gartic website here. Let's see what I got to do here. All right. Twitch. I got to connect to Twitch. Okay, tip for Twitch. To better results, we advise that you turn low latency. Okay, yeah, we got that on. Everybody does that, I think. Everybody knows to do low latency. Authorize. Oh, I hope I'm not doxing myself here or doing anything. All right, so we get that. All right, so I think we can go here. I think it's ready to run already. So the way this works is it's if you guys haven't played Gartic before, it's basically Pictionary on steroids. It's I know what I need to do. I need to change my title here, so if anybody sees this, you can type title Gartic. We're playing Gartic. Oops. Like Pictionary. All right. All right, let me put that in there and see if that worked. Title, we're playing Gartic, like Pictionary. Okay, I didn't see that changed anything. Okay, okay, Saber, take care. Title, now, I don't understand why that didn't change my title. That's what's supposed to change it. Okay, I guess I'm not going to worry about it. All right, so let's start this thing. So it's going to show a whole bunch of different Pictionaries all going at the same time, and we're just supposed to type in whatever we think these are pictures of. You got it, right? You know how it works. So lighter, right? Lighter. Okay, so I tried to type in lighter, and that wasn't it. Maybe flame. And you can do two words. See that? Like I hit that one, test tube. I got to get this up here. Found fireplace. Oh, nose. I don't know if this locks you out like Words on Stream does or not. I don't think it does. I think you can just keep typing, keep guessing. Okay, so that, let's see, mechanic. Okay, game over, try again. Okay, so we didn't get very far in that. I need to set something up here really quick here. I want to set up my, anyway, I got to do something here, sorry. This will just take a second. All right, there we go. This is just be a lot easier for me to do it this way. All right, so we're going to restart here. All right, here we go. Yeah, I can see the people who submit these things are pretty have a sense of humor in their drawings. Apple, core. Let's see. Umbrella. Yeah, I have dyslexia, so if I type something in that you think is the right answer and I misspell it, go ahead, go for it, you know, because I won't be able to. Avocado. Avocado. I'm not sure how you spell avocado. There it is. Okay, I found out how to spell avocado. Maybe that's rain. Is that what that is? Pot. Cook. Huh. Okay, we found ski. I don't know what that one is. Red, maybe a pepper? Go see. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining, Sydney. I appreciate it. Thank you for the video too. Take care. Bye bye. You cannot. Oh, you cannot see the game. Oh shit. Well, no wonder. That's no good. All right. There. All right. Sorry about that. Table, great, Memos. Thank you. Magician. There. Oh, we made it. We're going to the next level. All right. All right, let me click continue here. All right, we can see it still, right? Good. Okay. That one was easy. Okay. House, great. Oh my goodness. Orange. Okay, a brown orange. Oh, wow. That's a diving board, right? It is. Or 2 words. Dive, maybe? Bounce? Wow. I I don't know what that one was. That one that looked like a pool with a diving board on it. What else could that be besides diving board or a podium? I don't know. All right, so we got to start over again here. All right, we'll hit it again. Let's try this again. Bad. Okay, that was easy. Bicycle. Motorcycle. All right. That looks like a pitcher there, number middle left. Looks like a pitcher. Maybe, I don't know what that is. Drink Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid? I don't think they use brand names here. No. What the heck is that thing there? Is that a pear, maybe? Sky. I don't know what these are. Nah. Yeah, this is hard. These are hard to do. All right, I don't think. Do you want to continue with this or not? I don't think I'm gonna go anymore in this because it's really hard to do unless you have more people or something. It's hard for me. I'm good at Pictionary. I'm good at guessing that stuff, but I'm not good at. I have to be able to spell the word. You know what I'm saying? Once I figure out what it is, I have to be able to spell it. And I can do okay on a keyboard, you know, so, usually. And if I get multiple guesses at it, I can get it, you know, get the spelling correctly. But you know, if it's some of them are hard, and then also this. You know, you can guess what it is, but you can't. But you have to get it exactly the way they wrote it. You know what I mean? If it's 2 words, you got to type the 2 words. It's got to be, you know, like waiter. You know, if you said server, that wouldn't. I don't think they use the word waiter anymore, do they? I think they use the word server now. So, yeah, that's. I guess I have the same complaints that eRoom has with words on stream. This is the same company, by the way. This company here. I don't know what the name of the company is, but they. Let's see here. Is there a way to get? Let me see something here. GUS. Yeah, here it is. Words on stream. Maybe that's the. Oh, there it is. Onrizon or whatever. I don't know. Is that the name of the company? Unrizon TV. Gartic on stream and Words on stream. It's the same company that does it here. So, and they do it for different streamers. They do it for Twitch and YouTube and all this stuff. So, I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure where all those drawings came from, though. All right. All right, so we talked about taxes, and so if you came to the stream looking for taxes and saw us playing dictionary, you were confused. All right. Let me get rid of this because it doesn't make me look purple. All right. All right. I appreciate everybody coming to the stream, and hopefully you learned something about taxes. I don't know if I'm gonna. Sometimes I take these streams and I make a edited version of it and put it up on KXQE. Well, let me type that in here. I guess I don't have that. I'll type it in here. Maybe it'll work here. Huh. For some reason, my commands aren't working, and I don't know why they aren't working, which is kind of weird. So let's see if I can diagnose that. This is kind of an experimental stream anyway, because it's my first stream as an affiliate. So some of this stuff isn't going to work. They change stuff around or whatever, because when you make affiliate, they kind of add new features and do different stuff. So for some reason, my commands aren't working. Let me see if they got my. Yeah, see, they don't have my. Maybe I have to reattach my. I think none of this stuff is working. Let me try hug. No, see, it's not running any of my commands here for some reason. I don't know if I want to troubleshoot that on stream or not. Yeah, I think I'll wait. I think I can do that off stream. Yeah, I'm just going to do that off stream, I think. All right, but my OBS is still working, I think. So I think if there's anything else, yeah, give me a follow I'm on YouTube at doubletribble-yt. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm on Twitch at just doubletribble, twitch.tv/doubletribble. So you can give me a follow on Twitch, and on YouTube they call it subscribe. Give me a subscribe on YouTube. And then I also put videos up at KXQE on YouTube, which you can find at kxqe.com or youtube.com/@KXQE. And that's where my edited videos are. I think my next stream will be part 2 of the Cloud Atlas review that I was doing. I did part 1, and I'm editing down part 2, and I think maybe I'll have that done by the time I do my next stream. And if I do, that should be a good one to watch if you have seen Cloud Atlas. If you haven't seen Cloud Atlas, then you want to look at part 1, because part 1 doesn't have any spoilers in it. Part 2 will have spoilers in it. So if you haven't seen Cloud Atlas yet, you don't want to watch that one because it has spoilers in it. All right, everybody. So give me a follow on Twitch, and give me a subscribe on KXQE, and a subscribe on doubletribble-yt on YouTube. All right, that's it. I think that's it. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye.